started like the usual disagreement in Nigeria's political settings and eventually became survival of the fittest between two heavyweights. You might be, pondering on this. It's a political situation in Rivers State. It's been from one litigation to the other over the validity of membership of some state legislators after defection from one political party to another, and ultimately the battle for the control of 23 council areas. This can be described as a stalemate, as all council secretariat have been cordoned off by the police to avoid breakdown of law and order. Consequently, 21 out of the ousted chairmen stayed protests in their council areas despite adversary against such from the police. Can we say this is democracy at work or unwarranted excessiveness of the political gladiators? The question and other issues are what we shall be, focusing on Nigeria today on the program. I am Ikaria Clinton. Thanks for joining us. And this is Nigeria Today. Joining me via Zoom from Rivers State, the capital of Rivers State, which is Port Harcourt, is Festus Oguche, is a legal practitioner. Thank you for joining us on Nigeria Today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm grateful.
And here in the studio with us is Obi Ndukwe. She's a public affairs analyst. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you.
Obi, it's good to have you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, let's start with you, Mr. Oguche. Having had the introductory part of the program, would you say that this is democracy at work or exercise of the political class?
Well, I know that democracy is a learning process. Even advanced democracies are still advancing towards the perfection, a perfect state of what you call a people's government. Even although I would say that ours has been so slow, because by now, after 20-something years of uninterrupted democracy, we should have been familiar with some of these things, particularly the legal matters and issues concerning the Constitution and how they apply and how the democratic system works. We must have learned a lot from the traditions, democratic traditions that exist all over the world, particularly in the advanced world. We are trying as much as we can every day to quote or draw inspiration or quotations from the US Constitution or the British Constitution or the French Constitution. These are inspiring constitutional documents that should inform our actions, particularly those of the political class and the political elites. The very foundation of our democratic system is faulty right from the beginning, and that's why we've not been able to have democratic elections that are free, fair, and credible. I think that's the starting point. When you have an electoral process that is very squalid, as we have here, of course, you expect this kind of situations to arise. It is still democracy, but then I think we may not have to go too far the way it's being done as it is, particularly the issues that are showing themselves, the ugly situations that beginning to rear their heads in the Rivers State example here, which some I think sometimes when I think about them, I shudder that some people think that way on issues of defection, on issues of the Constitution, on issues of the sacredness of the glory.
We have a little network each there. Now back to the studio. You heard what he said from the Mr. Oguche said in his opening remark. Now, looking at the entire situation, from last year, it has been from one issue to the other. Now it's gone down to the grassroots. From the political perspective, is there hope? Is there hope in sight to resolving this impasse?
Yeah, well, political solutions always come out to be the best, because If you're going to depend on the laws, how many people are prepared to respect the laws, the rule of law? I mean, there's constant violation. People keep disobeying judgments of the court, orders of the court. In fact, let me tell you, the truth of the matter is that this Rivers case, the foundation is because some persons refused or chose certain aspects of a particular judgment to obey and the ones not to obey, even the Constitution. It's very clear. There's nothing happening in Rivers State that is not taken care of in our Constitution. Whether you're talking about the issue of caretaker council, talking about defection, talking about whose powers it is to appoint chairman or use alternatives, to run the local government councils. Everything is provided for in the Constitution. But the truth of the matter is that people turn a blind eye. And now, with the case of Rivers, I don't know whether the political solution is still going to be possible. At the point the president stepped in, and there was this political, peaceful resolution, 8-point resolution, as we call it, if they had stuck to it, I think that by now, Rivers State would have been running like every other state. Unfortunately, along the line, the accord was breached. And it was breached because there were certain gladiators, certain crisis entrepreneurs, people who benefit when there's a crisis situation. And they were involved in ensuring that these persons, the parties, the main characters in this whole drama do not stick to this. And that's why we started seeing what we're seeing. The political solution would have been the best, but I think that they have both gone too far. You can also hear the commentaries of the governor. There's a day he talked about jungle don't mature and all that. So it's like everybody is poised for war. But I think that if you ask me, the political solution remains the only solution. But where they refuse, the law will speak. And when the law speaks, everybody has to abide by it.
Okay, now back to you, Mr. Oguche. Now that there is a litigation concerning the tenure elongation of a former local government chairman, how should both parties conduct themselves?
Well, they lost it from the beginning. I think it's markedly the of getting themselves into situations that are totally uncalled for. The problem actually is that nobody's carrying the people along. It's like the people are totally separated from what is going on, and there's a whole lot of issues coming around. The judges are giving all manner of orders and decisions, and there are conflicts all over the place, and you don't know where to pin it. It appears that in Rivers State, the constitution is kept in abeyance, and some persons want to continue to play the masquerade in the theater unnecessarily. The crux of the matter is that the idea of state capture is very much founded in what is going on here, particularly in the idea that some members of parliament could walk out and go join another political party and still want to hold on to their seats, and the idea that some persons think that you can extend the tenure of local government system. Some people think that maybe you can enter an agreement that will substitute or supplant the provisions of the Constitution. I don't see any political solution to this problem. It's not one that can be solved politically. You don't apply political solution to solve a constitutional problem. All the issues that have cropped up in this Rivers debacle or the Rivers situation, they are all taken care of by the provisions of the Constitution. So it's a constitutional thing. But then the problem we have is that the courts keep skirting around the subject matter without hitting the nail on the head or taking it frontally to address the issues and address it in the Constitution in line with the rule of law, the principles of justice, democratic tradition, and the constitutional framework which we have sworn to abide in. It's a bit of a problem, but I think it's not just going to be the politicians sitting down and addressing it. It's something that pertains to the Constitution, and we must give it that shade of sacrosanctity. Thank you.
Now, Obi, must there be a misunderstanding between one political office holder and their predecessors or benefactors?
Well, just like in every other organization, there will always be, even in the church, in the other religious organizations, everywhere, there will always be some kind of disagreement, even in the families, you know. Unfortunately, the one for politicians is something that has come to stay. It's like a norm, you know, that people will fight, political godfathers with their godsons and successors with their predecessors and all that, you know. It's something that, yeah, but unfortunately, this particular case was not expected, even if it was going to happen, not so soon, because the relationship between the two people, you know, the Minister for FCT, that's the former governor, and then the current governor of the state, Sim Fubara, you know, nobody expected that, you know, these people begin to fight so soon. Unknown to very many people, this fight actually started 1 week after the inauguration. 1 week.
Well, we don't
unfortunately,
have
people don't have, because
we don't have that
yeah,
fact.
just like people don't also have a lot of information on the cases before the court. A lot of people make commentaries based on sentiments, based on whose side they want to support, or because I don't like this name or this face, so I need to align with all this or them. There's a lot of information out there for people, and that's why the court is definitely going to do a thorough job, because the information at their disposal may not be at the disposal of the public or those commenting. Even some senior advocates, with all due respect to them, some of them don't even have some of this information. Like I keep saying, what happened to the first judgment, the only court, the only order from the Federal High Court concerning these issues? Justice Omotosho, there were issues, the issues of who is the authentic speaker, the assembly, the constitution, the clerk, the tenure of the clerk, their enumerations and the rest. It's all contained in that judgment. But you see people waking up, even the court, the Justice Omotosho made it clear that any other assembly purportedly sitting is null and void based on this. It's a 72-page document. I can give it to you. I can forward it to you. You probably will need to read it and study it, and then you begin to have a clearer understanding of these things. So now, the two people who are fighting, they know the truth. They also know where it went wrong. Like I said in previous outings, I mean, some of us who are commenting were not part of the agreement they had. And then, of course, one person decides to breach it. At the time it was signed, at the time it was agreed, it suited everybody. Oh, yes, I'm going to do this, I will do that. Can you do this, I will do that. And then along the line, you suddenly find out that you can't keep to the agreement. Of course, the other person will fight back. That's the truth of the matter. Like he said, it's about state capture. It has been there. It has always been there. I've not seen any governor who left without having, you know, a hold on. It's a structure thing. Let me put it that way. It's a structure thing, because it's not as if it's one person that can make a governor. It's about the people, both the assembly, the local government, the supporters, and the rest of them. So it's a battle for the structure. And of course, if you allow your structure to collapse, what it means is that evidently you are no longer going to be relevant. So I think it's the reason.
Okay, we'll take a breather here. This is still Nigeria Today, and we'll listen to the Algon chairman in Rivers State comment. Don't go away.
It is a calculated attempt by these enemies of our dear state to paint the state in bad light, unleash mayhem while at it, and to further buttress their inordinate call for the declaration of a state of emergency in our dear state. We emphatically state that we, the Association of Local Government of Nigeria, Algon, Rivers State Chapter, and our people are in support of the police decision to take control and protect all local government council secretariats until further directive on the matter. We want to categorically state that we are not in any way linked to the planned protest, as it is inimical to the progress and well-being of the people of Rivers State.
Welcome back. That was the Algon chairman. Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today, and of course, we are looking at the political situation in Rivers State. I have with me via Zoom a legal practitioner, and here in the studio we have a public affairs analyst. Mr. Oguche, you had the reaction there. You know, the issue now is the 10-year extension of the council chairman in the latest political, you know, situation in Rivers State. Ordinarily, should this be?
Well, we are familiar. We are familiar with democratic process. We know what happens even in for some presidential elections in some countries. We are familiar with the case of Nkurunziza and the case of the current president of Cote d'Ivoire, Ouattara, when they wanted to extend their tenure and allow them to read constitution. You just don't wake up. You cannot extend the tenure of an elective office. It is not done that way because that is usurping the powers of the people, the functions of the people. The sovereignty resides in them, and it is not for parliament, even though they are representing them, to extend the tenure of people they put into office. Once a tenure is fixed, it is fixed. And if you are an occupant of that position, you are elected to represent people and your tenure is gone, it is gone. The idea of elongating it is totally bizarre. I've never heard it anywhere. We are looking out for the court to give an interpretation to our constitution, but then that interpretation must conform with universal standards. You know, and for the gentlemen who are gone to insist that they will continue to stay, even if that law was made while they were in office. That means if they are to apply that law made by the House of Assembly of the state purportedly, that's if we take it assuming but not considering that the House of the State or House of Assembly of the state exists, then that means you are applying the law retroactively. It doesn't happen. Even if the law is to apply, it has to apply with a new set of people, not the particular people who are there. All these principles are very familiar. And lawyers are not confused about the issues going on here. Because as far as I'm concerned, all the issues, like I told you, that is happening in this River State debacle, the whole imbroglio, they are taken care of by the provisions of the Constitution. The law is very much there. Is it the issue of defection? Is it the issue of, even as minute as the police coming to close down the local governments because they have there's a self-conceived notion of insecurity, you know. So these things, we are familiar with it, but we are trying to build a democratic process that's acceptable, that conforms to the norms and traditions of democracy. And in doing that, the Constitution must always apply. The wordings of the Constitution in these areas are not ambiguous.
Now, as you can see on the screen, I think we have a little network problem there. But as you can see on the screen, the protests by I think the former chairman and their supporters there. Now, Obi, how will this standoff portray River State in Nigeria's political scene?
Yeah, well, River State occupies a major place in the politics. In fact, it's one of the determinant states, one of the swing states, you know, during elections. And then, of course, you also know that River State has a lot of money also to throw in from the time of Dr. Peter Odili to Rotimi Amechi, Nyeso Wike. I mean, they've played huge roles in determining who becomes the president, you know, and all that. So it's actually a state to watch. It's a state that everybody should be bothered about what's going on. But like I said, a lot of people take sides because it's either they are ignorant of the issues or they just want to take sides because they don't like a person. If I don't like the Minister of FCT, there is just no way I'm going to support whatever his people do, irrespective of the fact that they may be following the laws or the Constitution. Now, let me tell you the truth. This whole thing would have just been avoided if elections had been conducted into the council. They had. Of course, the chairman knew that tenure was going to end on June 17th. The governor of the state also knew that and also knows that the law is clear that you can conduct elections even 3 months before the expiration of the tenure of the chairman. Now, let me tell you what happened. Because it's easy for people to talk about the assembly extending or elongating the tenure of this thing, and then everybody says it's wrong. Of course, even the formation of caretaker is also unconstitutional. The Supreme Court has decided on that. And another matter is also before the Supreme Court, which at the end of the day, it will deal with all the states who are also running the caretaker thing. So what it means is that if we agree, assuming we agree that the assembly didn't have any constitutional provision to extend the tenures of the chairman, and then the governor himself does not also have a constitutional right to appoint caretaker chairman. That means that Rivers State, the local government councils would have been without any leadership, and that, I think, informed the decision of the assembly to step in, knowing that these people's tenure will soon end, and the governor RISEC has not said anything about election. So let us borrow the letters of the Constitution as it affects the President and National Assembly. It's very clear, because it says that if for any reason the President cannot conduct election, the National Assembly will have to step in and elongate the tenure of the President, pending when elections will be conducted, but not more than 6 months anyway. So I think that's what the Rivers State House of Assembly, in their own wisdom, decided to do, because even the Constitution is silent on that. Where there is this kind of crisis, caretaker is not allowed, elongation is not allowed. What happens? So the State Assembly, whose responsibility it is to make laws for the local government, decided to step in. And I think that if they had sat down, if the governor probably had sat down with them, that could have been a solution to the crisis. But unfortunately, because the fight was already there, so this one says no, that one says no. So that's where we are.
So, Mr. Wiche, in your own opinion, what might likely be the solution to this crisis? So, Obi, just give us your closing thought on this whole matter, because we're actually looking for a way forward here.
Yeah, the way forward, first, there was an attempt by the president to reconcile both parties. I think they need to go back to that same table. But like people say, it's a constitution. Because when the president even came with that resolution and both parties agreed, even the governor agreed and said he was going to keep to it, some persons began to tell him that you shouldn't have accepted. No, this is weakness, this is that. And then, of course, along the line, maybe he yielded to pressure, and then they decided not to follow this. So I think that if they need a political solution, it can happen. Go back to the source and then look at the issues. Look at who is actually the aggressor here, the provocateur, the mastermind of this crisis, and then see how you can, that you are elected, just as the assembly, the speaker is also elected, and then the local government chairman were elected. It doesn't mean that anybody should run into the other person's lane. So, but if we're going to look at the law, of course, it's already before the appeal court.
Okay,
they would have just waited for the appeal court to decide on the matter.
Okay, thank you very much, Obi. So back to Mr. Oguche. Give us your closing thoughts. We're talking about the way forward. What might likely be, the way forward here?
The thing is that there's a jinx in the political environment, and I can tell you that you cannot democratize without the people. There cannot be a way forward without the involvement of the people of Rivers State. That is very important. They make up the polity, they make up the population, at whose instance government machinery is working. When political gladiators come together to flex their muscles and at the instance of themselves without considering the people, and we try to remind them sometimes that they cannot keep the people in abeyance. The government belongs to them, from where government derives its power and authority. I would say also that the idea of a caretaker committee is not very palatable to me. That is totally wrong. The Supreme Court had set that pattern, set that standard that there cannot be a caretaker committee of the local government. Initially, the governor had mooted the idea of using the administrative units, heads of administrative units in each of the local governments, to run it until the proper elections are conducted at the councils. But he made a volte-face, a detour sort of, and appointed caretaker committees. I don't think it's possible. But then I would say that whatever is happening now will be very, very important to the development of our democratic process. If the courts give decisions that are not properly in tandem with democratic norms, of course it will create bad precedents, and which could be a very big threat in future to our democratic system. The solution is that the courts do the needful and deliver the judgments.
Thank you very much. With that, of course, the last we said the court should do the needful.
That's right.
That's right. So with that, we draw the curtain of today's episode of Nigeria Today. We thank our guest, Festus Oguche, legal practitioner, that joined us via Zoom. Thank you so much for being part of the program. And of course, here we had Obin Dukwe, a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For coming on the program and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
And don't forget, Nigeria Today airs every weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can also check out this episode and others on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Thank you very much for being part of the program. I am Eucharia Clinton. Goodbye.